This is going to be a film review, a YouTube review of the Carcano 91/41 rifle. This was requested by 20th Century Film Docs, but this is also for anyone else who's just interested in Carcanos, thinking about purchasing one, or anyone who's into milsurps in general and you're just on YouTube. Alright, I just want to make very clear before we start off. There's a lot of people out there who think they know a lot about the Carcano, when really they've been spoon-fed opinions, misinformation, and sometimes just even outright lies about it, about the Carcano series rifles. And frankly, they're wrong, because the Carcano rifle is a great representation of military technology, of rifle technology, around the time of its adoption, that being 1891. So a lot of things I hear are like, it's inaccurate, the round is weak, there's some justification to that, the action is very weak, and the steel is of poor quality. And especially on those last two, they're incredibly wrong. And for one thing, the steel on this rifle, and I think on others as well, comes from the region we know of as Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic and Slovakia these days. And if you look back in time, the steel that came out, the steels that came out of those regions, that region, is quite good. It's very good. It's considered top of the line. So the steel the steel is very good. And I'll explain later how the action is quite strong, or it's not as weak as people think it is. So regardless, as you watch this video, try and ignore all that stuff that you might have heard. Okay, so a little bit of background information about this rifle and history. I want to make this as fast and painless as possible. In the 1860s and 70s, I think Italy was united under one, one Italian nation basically. Before that, it had been a bunch of states, and there was obviously a need to adopt a rifle. And what they did was they adopted a design called the Vetterli, which was a Swiss design. It was black powder, and originally it was single shot. They later made it a magazine. They later made it magazine fed. But by the time the late 1880s rolled around, it was completely obsolescent. The French came out with the smokeless powder rifle, the 1886 Labelle, and the Germans followed suit with the Gewehr 88, the Gewehr model 1888. The Austro-Hungarians came out with the M1885, and they later adopted it to a smokeless configuration in 1890, I think. But what happened was France, Germany, and Austria-Hungary had rifles that had outclassed Italy's. And Italy's biggest nemesis at the time was Austria-Hungary, the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And so the Italians rightly assumed and rightly were that they basically knew they were outclassed, and so they launched a commission to design and engineer a new rifle. And there was a gentleman on that commission named Carcano, I think, who probably oversaw or designed something incredibly important, and that's how his name got attached to this rifle. Anyways, the Italians, like I said, they looked at Germany and Austria-Hungary, and both those countries at the time were using what's called the Mannlicher style en-bloc magazine. And if you know anything about historical rifles of this period, or you have a Steyr, most commonly a Steyr M95, you'll know what that is. And for those of you who don't know, a Mannlicher style magazine or an en-bloc style magazine uses these clips to hold the ammunition, and what you do is you insert the clip into the magazine of the rifle, and it acts as an integral part where the follower pushes up on the ammunition until the last round is chambered. And as you saw in my other video, or if you've seen other Mannlicher style magazine rifles being used on YouTube, when you chamber the last round, the clip just falls out. And the Italians must have taken a lot of cues or a lot of hints from the German Gewehr 88, because the rifle, the 1891 Carcano, highly resembles the Gewehr 88. For one thing, it's very Mauser-like in operation. Right now it's uncocked, you can tell, because this isn't jutting out. But when you cock it, it's cock on opening, very Mauser-like. Watch the back, the cocking piece there. It will move back. I'm doing this from an awkward angle. So it just cocked itself. And to remove the bolt, you pull on the trigger and just simply remove the bolt. So the bolt is very Mauser-like. It's got two locking lugs and an integral extractor right there. I don't think the focus is very good on this camera. Don't buy a flip if you're going to do YouTube reviews. But and you know, the bolt itself is very it looks complex, but once you get used to it, it's fairly idiot-proof. I mean, unless you lose something, it's hard to go wrong with this bolt once you understand what to do with it. And so this, you know, like the German Gewehr 88, it uses the magazine system. It uses a very Mauser-like bolt. And so basically, this rifle is as strong, at least as strong, as a Gewehr 88. Alright, this rifle was produced in 1942 by Terny, I think. And so metallurgy, metallurgy in 1942 definitely was better than metallurgy in 1891. So this rifle is fairly strong. The action is strong enough for the round it was designed to fire. And it will definitely, the Germans rechambered a lot of these Carcanos during the late stages of the war for their 7.92x57mm Mauser round, the JS-IS round. And unless you're willing to consider that round to be very weak, the action of this, the Carcano action will handle an 8x57mm Mauser. So it's not weak. It's not weak at all. It's based off German Mauser technology. Alright, this short bit will cover the disassembly of the bolt. So if you ever need to clean it or whatnot after you're done shooting. So the first step is like the Mosin again, if you're familiar with that. What you want to do is you want to put the bolt in the decocked position. So while watching your fingers, pull back on this piece here and twist to the left and let it go forward. Alright, so now it's in the uncocked position. Now what you want to do is you want to take either your fingernail or a flat object, like the edge of a screwdriver, push down on this little button here, and then you want to twist off this retaining nut. And then what you do is you do that, and just twist it off, and be sure to keep all the small bits. And then the next step is to take this piece off. Sorry, I'm not real technical with all the names and whatnot, but I'm just not exactly sure what this is. So what you do is you take it off, just like that. You might have to twist to the right a millimeter or two, depending on the tolerances of your rifle. Now, I hate the focus on this thing. See how there's a little flat piece right here that's reflecting light? You want to memorize where that is. It's not a big deal if you forget to do this step, but where this flat piece is in relation to the this little piece here is how that piece will go back on. There's a flat surface on the inside. You can kind of see it. Not really, but trust me, it's there. That will fit over the flat piece on the safety bit here. So just memorize where that is. And then the next step is to take the safety collar off. This safety tab, collar, whatever you want to call it. You can see how there's a groove here and how the safety is held in place by this little bit here. And what you want to do is you want to push down and twist until it comes all the way up. See how it's now in this position and how the safety is extended. Oop, really bumped the tripod there. And then you have to. What happens is there's a little channel in there that leads to the right a bit and then back out. I've been told that on some of the Carcano rifles and carbines, there's actually a visible groove. But on this one there isn't. And even though you can't tell on camera, you can actually see where it is inside the channel. So just push down a bit, and then out. The safety is out. Then you just take your spring out and your firing pin, give everything a nice scrubbing, oiling, whatever. And to put everything back together, you just do everything in reverse, just like any other bolt-action rifle that I know of. So again, firing pin and spring. Excuse me. The next step is to put the safety back in its original position. Again, you want to line up this little piece that juts out with that right there, that little cutout. And this is a pretty powerful spring. And back. See how it's back there again? Now what you want to do is you want to compress the safety, which will compress the spring, and put it back into this position here, like such. And then, like I said, you want to memorize where that flat piece was, but it's alright if you don't. I think I remember it was over here. And you kind of have to finagle this back on again. How does this work? Okay. Hold on a second. Just got to figure out how this worked. Alright, back this way. I think it's like this. Maybe a bit more to the right. A bit more to the right. Even more to the right. There we go. Yeah, it helps to memorize that little last piece there. And then finally put the retaining nut back on. Squeeze that button once you get this down far enough. And once you can't take it any further, it'll fall into this little channel right there. Pull back, cock the piece again, cock the bolt rather, and stick it back in the rifle. Make sure everything works properly. Alright, this is the ammunition. The 1891 series rifle, Carcano rifle, is designed to fire and chamber and fire. This is Hornady, modern day production ammunition. It's 6.5 by 52 millimeters. And the original loading, you'll see a lot of 139 grain Spitzer, but the original loadings from 1891 to the end of the Second World War was 160 grain round nose. The Italians never adopted a Spitzer bullet. As for why, I can only guess there wasn't enough funding, or they just weren't willing to go through with the change in facilities, factories, and methods of production and whatnot. But, and as I said earlier, these are the clips for the Carcano. If you want your rifle to be a multi-shot rifle, you have to have a clip. It's an integral part of the magazine. Without it, you have a single-shot rifle. And so I already have some rounds out in front of me. This is the 6.5 by 52 Carcano. It's round nose, soft point, it's hunting ammo. And a lot of people will complain about the inaccuracy of their rifle. That's because you're probably shooting a .264 diameter bullet. Alright, the Italians, even though it's 6.5 millimeters, which translates to .264, the Italians use a .268 bullet, or .267, .268 bullet. So if you shoot a .264 bullet down a .268 bore, obviously your accuracy is going to go to hell. So if you want to have an accurate rifle, use the correct bullet. Hornady does manufacture a correct diameter bullet. And I don't know if you can tell, you probably can't see it, but this is actually Pervi Partisan brass. And in my other video, I was shooting Pervi Partisan 2.264 diameter bullets, and that's because the bore on my rifle is immaculate. It's almost perfect, and it will shoot them it will shoot them pretty accurately. All right, so to load the clip, You can see there's on the back here, there's a groove, like a trench, if you will, where the metal is pushed in, and then that's on the inside of the clip too. That's meant to hold the rim of the cartridge, prevent it from falling out. So what you do is at the top, you can do this either way. It's symmetrical. You can load the rifle through the top or the bottom. But and this is a bit awkward from behind the camera, but you just push it in and down to the ends. Make sure it's all the way towards the rear of the clip. What you do is again push in. You might have to spread the lips a bit. These were originally one-time use clips. They were meant to be used only once, but since I'm on a budget and I don't feel like paying $5 a clip every time I go shooting, I'm gonna reuse them until they fall apart. You can see actually where some of the bluing has been rubbed off because I've used this clip so many times. And just push it all the way to the end. Make sure make sure it's even. Make sure it's pushed towards the rear, all of them. And there might be a little play between some of the rounds, but like this one here. But that's completely normal. Once you load into the rifle, it doesn't really matter. And you might not be able to tell, but there's some markings on the clip. There's an SMI on the left, and a star and a 39 on the right. These clips are made of blued steel. The original clips, made before, I think, the 1938, these were brass. The blued steel clips were for the M38, the model 1938 rifle. And but I mean, you can use either one, brass or steel, doesn't matter. They will both hold 6.5 by 52 Carcano just as well, because the 7.35 Carcano was really just one that's been necked up for a true 30 caliber bullet. And I have here some comparisons, some other M-block clips that you might be familiar with. This is for a Steyr Mannlicher M95 rifle, or carbine, Stutzen. I haven't really looked into those. I want to get one, which is why I bought this clip. But I don't have any ammo, and I don't have the rifle for it. And unlike these clips, it uses the Steyr M95 uses a rimmed round, so you can only load this one way. With these clips, you can load it either way into the rifle, like a Garand clip, which I have. This is an M1 Garand clip with real Lake City World War II production ammunition. I don't plan on shooting this stuff. I don't have a Garand yet, but I want one in the worst way. So that's just some comparison for you. A lot of people will complain that the 6.5 Carcano round is pretty weak. There's for one thing, I mean, it was, like I said, it was accurate. It's certainly, I think Kennedy was shot. I think Oswald shot Kennedy with one of these. I don't think anybody else did it. I think if you do think somebody else did it, you're a fool. But here's a 7.62 by 54mm Russian round. As you can see, the Russian round's a bit longer. It's 2mm longer, and it's definitely a bit thicker. Whoops. In terms of diameter, it's definitely a bit thicker. I also have 8mm Mauser, 7.92 by 57mm Mauser, which is even larger in diameter than the Russian round. 57mm being a longer case as well. And I have 30-06 right in front of me. So, and 30-06 translates to 7.62 by 63, I believe. So that's just a comparison of a lot of rounds. Again, that's 30-06 on the left, 8mm Mauser, second from the left, 7.62 by 54mm Russian, second from the right, and 6.5 by 52 all the way on the right. Oh, all right. I forgot to mention that 6.5 by 52 has a very large sectional density. If you look at the bullet, it's very long, and compared to its diameter, which is 0.268, it's got a very long bullet. Excuse me, which means when it impacts flesh, it's very stable. It doesn't tumble unless it hits bone. So it just punches a hole through and through. the person. And while I want to say I don't want to be hit by one, I wouldn't want to be shot with one of these. It's fair to say that the lethality compared to like 8mm Mauser or a 7.62x54 rimmed Russian or 30-06, it might be a bit lacking. But obviously the Italians, they fought the Austrians in World War I to a standstill. So I mean, I guess it's a decent caliber. I've never shot anything with this, and I mean, let's put it this way: I wouldn't want to be hit by one. And muzzle velocity out of my M9141 is 2,250 feet per second out of the muzzle. It's a fairly low pressure cartridge. It was designed. The Italians designed the rifles to have a long barrel life, and I'll cover that next. Alright, as I just said, the Italians designed the Carcano rifle with long life in mind, long barrel life specifically. As to why, I can only fathom that they didn't exactly have the money to keep building more and more rifles, so they wanted to keep a set amount in service longer. And that's because, and they did that by using what's called progressive rifling, and that's towards the beginning of the barrel, where towards the throat, I guess it's called. The rifling is about 1 in 18, and the one turn in 18 inches, and as the bullet travels down the barrel, the rifling tightens up until at the muzzle, and you get a twist rate of 1 in 8, I think it is. And so the belief there is that that causes less the 1 in 18 twist down towards the beginning of the barrel causes less friction and less wear and tear on the barrel, the throat specifically, I guess, and just the rest of the barrel in general. However, this rifle, the Italians did away with it in 1938 when the Model 38 rifles came out, and every rifle produced after that, including the 91 38s, which were 38s chambered in 6.5 Carcano, and the 91 41s, which is what I have. This particular rifle, as I said earlier, was made in 1942. They did away with it, and this has standard rifling, and where it's just consistent the entire way down. It's a unique design. It's debated whether it actually works or not, but it's an interesting feature, an interesting tidbit of history. All right, to load the rifle. By the way, there's nothing beyond that wall besides dirt and concrete. So, and I normally I'm very safe with my rifles as well. As you can see, the rifle is uncocked. When you cock it, the cocking piece will move back. Open the bolt. As you can see, there's nothing in the magazine, and there's nothing in the chamber. Pinky check is the most reliable check in my opinion. Works regardless of light conditions. And what you do is, what I do is I take the clip and I hold it in the crease of my palm where the thumb meets, where that giant thumb muscle meets the rest of your palm, and I just start it in. This is an awkward angle. Let me see if I can do it. I just start with my palm, and then I finish it off with my thumb, push in until it clicks in place, clicks and locks in place, as such, and then operate the rifle as you would with any other turn bolt action rifle. I'm going to move the tripod up a bit, and as you saw in my other video, once you chamber the last round, the follower has nothing to push on anymore, so the clip will fall out the bottom. I'll try and demonstrate that. Whoops. This is the old playroom. Nobody comes here anymore, except for me. Okay, so let's try this. And this rifle can be operated fairly quickly too. I mean, you saw me in the other video. That was pretty quick. Whoops. And alright, this is the last round. As you heard, or maybe saw, the clip fell out the bottom. Where is it? There it is. And at that point, you're supposed to put in another clip. Keep the rifle fed. To decock the rifle, hold the trigger down and depress the bolt. The cocking piece will retract into the uncocked position. Oh, the safety. Alright. So the safety only works like when the safety only works when the rifle is cocked. It's like any other Mauser design. So what you do is there's this little tab here. You push in on that and over until it comes into this rearward position. You can't open the bolt, and the sear, it takes this pressure off the sear. Alright, and to disengage the safety, you just push forward and back. The safety's serrated so that you get a bit more grip on it, but I just find that it's a pain in the ass on the thumb. Don't do it too much. I also forgot to mention, when I was dealing with the clip in the rifle, there isn't a way to unload it. If you look closely, you'll see there's a little button there that you can push in. The rifle's unloaded. What you can do is, let's say you were in combat. What you could do is you can, or combat had ended, the enemy had to run away, or you'd run away, whatever. What you do is you push down to take the tension off the, there's a little latch back here, and then you push in on this button, and the clip will come out. Or let's say that you had fired off a few rounds, and you're like halfway done with the clip, and you just wanted to take it out the rifle. You can just push in on the clip, make sure the bolt's all the way back, and it will come out. You can also load this rifle with less than 6 rounds in the clip. You can load it with anywhere between 1 and 6 rounds. So they say Lee Harvey Oswald. Obviously, there were 3 shots fired, and when they checked the rifle, there was another one in the magazine. So that means he had 4 in the clip, and that's definitely possible. What you do is you just got to make sure the 4 are facing up, and that they're properly aligned. I mean, this would have been done before, obviously, you got into combat, but it'll click into place just like that. And you can see at the bottom, you can see where the follower's pushing up on the rounds above it. Also, the Italian rear sight is a bit unique. The 9141 and actually all the Carcanos, and historically their other rifles as well, before the Carcano too, were unique. The Verturli, in that the rear sight, yeah, I mean during this period of time, most nations used different rear sights. A common one during this period of time was a ladder sight, where you flip the ladder up and then you raise a riser up and down for change in elevation. And if you flip the ladder down, there'd be like a fixed battle sight. The Austrian Steyr 95 had it. The Japanese on their Arasakas had it. Our 1903s had it. The later British number 4 Mark 1 had it, and Mark 2 had it. Or there was the other option that was most common, was you had a ramp and you squeezed in on the on these little tabs and you moved it back and forth. Generally, it was forward for a rise in elevation or back for a decrease in elevation. But the Italians used a different system. I don't know if you can see very well. Let me try zooming in. But there's some serrations here. Some of them are catching reflected light because it's the bluing's a bit worn. But what you do is there's a button on the other side right here. What you do is you push in on that, and you can see that pushes this. It's spring loaded. It pushes the rod out the other side, so it doesn't catch on the serrations, and you can just move it to whatever elevation you so desire. This sight, the 9141s, and some of the M9138 carbines, I think the ones that are made by Brescia, the sights are adjustable from 300 to 1,000 meters. Older 1891 long rifles, the original Carcanos, their sights, it was much longer. This one's pretty stubby. It's like, I want to say, nearly 2 inches long. The other sight was much longer, and it went from 400 to 2,000 meters. The older 1891 rifles had a battle sight of 300 meters, and the 1941, the model 9141s, have a battle sight of 200 meters. And to get to the battle sight, what you do is you push on this button, and you push it all the way into the forward position, and you'll get a second V-notch right there. And the Italians made this clever little cutout here, so that when you move this the riser forward, the rear sight forward, it doesn't bang into the wood. And so, yeah, that's pretty unique. I'm going to try changing the camera angle, and so you can look down the sight. So you can actually try and look down the sights as an Italian soldier would. Alright, I'm going to try this in a different camera location. As I said, the Italian sights are unique as well. In addition to the your different style elevation settings, where you push the button and raise it up and down like that. The Italians train their soldiers to shoot their rifle using a different sight picture. Even though this rifle has a V-notch, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take your front blade, your front sight, and put it at the bottom of the V-notch, as opposed to level with the top. So that means mathematically you can shoot this rifle two different ways. You can shoot it as the Italians train their soldiers, with the front blade at the bottom of the V-notch, or you can shoot it level, like you would a Mauser rifle, or Mosin Nagant, or a Lee Enfield No. 1 Mark III. And so a lot of older folks, actually, after they looked at my Carcano and they shouldered it, they really love the front sights. I mean, most people like peep sights, or aperture sights as they call them, better. But older folks with whose eyes aren't as good as they used to be, they really love that giant oversized V-notch. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put the blade at the bottom, like that. But most folks are so used to shooting with, the Mauser style sight settings, where you place it even with the top. They just love it because their older eyes can handle it. In terms of a sight picture with tangent sights, that's like an older man's wet dream. So I'm gonna the riser has a larger V than the fixed battle sight. But I mean, even with the fixed battle sight, that's still a really large V-notch. And that's how you're supposed to do it. Alright, I'm going to, I want to explain this too. Earlier you saw me cycle the action of the rifle, and you saw and heard the clip fall out the bottom, the clip being right there. I do want to say that, as I said earlier, by the time the Second World War rolled around, this system of rifle was obsolescent. And I was shooting this rifle on the range earlier, on Christmas Eve actually, and the rifle jammed as a result of the clip. The clip can be a structural weakness within the magazine if it's shaped improperly, or if it's worn, like my clip is. And I guess just for one more time for kicks and giggles, I'm going to readjust the tripod. Maybe I should even move it back further. Okay, let me try it this way. I hope you can see that. What I'm going to do again, and my finger's going to go nowhere near the trigger. Start with the palm, finish it off with my thumb, and just start. Again, one more time. I'm going to place this. I'm going to place a hard cardboard board underneath so that you can hear it. The sound it makes when the clip falls out. Oh, see, there's another problem. Sometimes the clip doesn't fall out. Sometimes, due to the shape or due to whatever factor goes on inside the magazine, the clip doesn't fall out. Sometimes it does need a little jiggling. This rifle is unloaded, and I'm going to decock it. And I'll show you that video where the clip jammed. These are 200. I have to wash my brass. My gloves. Shit. Fucking clip system. It's the weakness of it. What are you doing, you asshole?
I got a picture of this failure.
It's not my rifle. It's not my favorite rifle. Oh shit. Yeah, it's. Technical problem. Oh shit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's carving up my fingernail. Fuck. Alright, this should be the last section and the ending of my very lengthy review of the 91/41 Carcano rifle. I was going to devote this last section to accessories, makers and models and different variants of the Carcano rifle and carbines. Fact of the matter is, I can't really do that because that would probably take me another 10 or 15 minutes of talking, and you must be sick of me by now. I don't really have any accessories. You can see the cleaning rod is missing. I don't have a bayonet for it, although I do have a Japanese Type 30 Arisaka bayonet that fits. It fits it decently, but let's not put anything on the rifle that doesn't belong there, unless it was designed to take it. So yeah, I'm going to actually put a link in the description box to a fantastic website that I used to before I bought this Carcano. That website is excellent. It's the best I've ever found, and it will describe to you, different models, makers, variants, markings, etc. that you'll find on your Carcano. If you have one, your grandpa bought one back from the war or from the imports in the 60s. And, well, this is my first review of a rifle, really, of a Milsurp rifle. I hope you enjoyed it. Since it's the first, I probably did a couple things wrong. Maybe I did something right occasionally. So feel free to rate my video, comment on it, give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want. And, try and give me, if you're going to criticize me, give me some helpful advice. So I can continue producing these videos if you want. And hopefully the next one that I'll make will be of better quality. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it, and have a nice day.